Well, I'm the farmer amongst the first three speakers, so I'll keep it on a farmer level. And as a Scotsman, maybe I'll be coming back to you as an independent nation in a few years to come, God help me. So, yeah, Euro's a disaster. So I'm just going to talk through, we'll whisk through some slides here. So, journey, where I went to school in Scotland, then on to Cirencester, as was just alluded to. I then went to the City of London. My family have a history in investment management. I'm the first member of the family to actually run the farm. Father said to me one day, go and work in the city for a short time, however long you care, but at least when you're sat on your tractor at that time, when we were struggling to make money, you'll know how those idiots in the city are making their millions. And you can either say, I've been there and I don't want to do farming, or they're welcome to it. So I went down, spent 6 months in the city. I learned a hell of a lot. And I think something that Alan, one word I would take from Alan's talk that will hopefully feature in mine as well, is that farming is not a hobby. It is a business, and it needs to be run as a business. These guys in the stock market are looking after your money. And if they lose your money, they're on that phone pretty quickly asking what the hell you've done with it. So think about your farm as a business. So I learned a heck of a lot from that, but the main thing I learned was I hated London. I removed myself very rapidly and went back to the farm. I think a key thing for everyone in here as well, being young farmers, and some of you, lots of you probably studied agriculture at university. One of the key things that I did when I went home was I was the shit shoveler at the bottom of the pile. I did not go in as wee Johnny who's going to come in and tell everyone what to do. I wanted to show that when I went home, I would not ask any member of staff to do something that I wasn't prepared to do. Your staff, if you have staff, are the key to your business. Absolute key. And if you wander in from university or being somewhere else and start saying this is what we're going to do, that they generally tend to go against you. So I wanted to prove that they could respect me, trust me, and move forward in terms of that. To this day, I still hoover out the grain shed every year, which is probably seen as the worst job every year. I still do that until my son hopefully comes through and then he'll get it. The Farmers Weekly Awards touched upon. I was Young Farmer of the Year and the Farmer of the Year. I think I'm still the only person to have gone from young to overall. Opened a heck of a lot of doors. It's been an amazing opportunity, but it also has its challenges. I do a bit of speaking. I go away a bit, but you always have to remember that my farm is my business, and I need to be going home and managing that. You have to learn to say no to things. Look after number one. Oxford Farming Conference. I'll be charging Alan for his slide later. I'm the co-chairman in 2014. I'm on the board. If anyone's not going, this year there's still about 40 tickets left, so go and buy them. Excellent conference, and it has opened huge, huge doors for me. And hopefully we'll share it at the end, but I do a lot of work with my customer, and my customer is twofold. My customer is the abattoir that I provide and the supermarket. 66% of the red meat in this country is sold through the supermarket. The number of farmers who will stand up and say, Mr. Supermarket, you're a bastard. I'm sorry, but let's take it in a different formula. If you're a car salesman, if you're standing in the car salesman forecourt and for every 2 out of 3 customers you turn around to them and say, you ain't going to pay me enough, piss off, you'll go out of business pretty quickly. Think about who your customer is and work with them, not against them. So my objectives, very simply, sustainability. Sustainability for me is profitability. Very simple. I want to have physical and financial success. Very simple saying, turnover is vanity, profit is sanity. I couldn't give a monkey's if you've got a 4 billion turnover. I want to know what your profit is. And I think something that was mentioned earlier on by David, I want to have a financial rate of return to compare with the average supermarket. Most people look at that and go, oh, Jesus. Their return on capital employed, the average of the big five, is 4%. Mine is 25%. So again, know your customer. Think about what you're doing. Simple farming system, something called KISS, keep it simple, stupid. We used to do potatoes, soft fruit, sheep, bin them all because I didn't have the scale to do it. I wasn't good enough at it. I reckoned I could be globally competitive in the arable world and the beef world, and that is what I've concentrated on. Again, going back to staff, I have probably 3 or 4 meetings every year, long ones, where we sit down. I have something that I call the Bible, and my Bible sets out all my targets, what we're aiming for, how we're going to get there, and is it realistic? I think the key thing when you do a budget, and in the pedigree world I hear this far too often, I'm going to sell every bull for $7,000 a bull. My stockman would have pissed off long ago of heart failure. You need to be realistic when you do your budgets so that they are achievable and meetable. So we sit down and I say to the guys, are you going to be able to plough, 20 acres a day? Yes? Perfect. That's what the target is. And then we work around that. Do you think at calving time we're going to have a weaning rate of, it's probably set low, but it's achieved 85%? Yeah, that should be achievable. Right. Let's work on those numbers. And then we can take everything forward and it is budgeted. We sit down with, probably a rude word in here, but SAC, the Scottish Agricultural Colleges, the vet, the feed people, I'll use Harborough, my 2 stockmen and myself, and we sit there 3 times a year and we say, right guys, this is what's gone right and this is what's gone wrong. How can we make that better and what should we be doing about it? And those meetings are very good not only for us but also for them. But it also, I'm trying to involve my staff in everything I do. I do not have a dictatorial form of management. I like to involve everyone. I was speaking earlier and we said if you wanted someone to plough this field and you've come back as wee Jimmy and you said, right, go and plough it north-south, it would probably be ploughed east-west. But if you said to him, I can't remember which way that field was ploughed last year, they'd go, oh, it was east-west, so I'll plough it north-south this year. Perfect, great. So you are giving them the ideas. They will be very loyal. Low carbon footprint, I think that's very important for the public in the future, something I've got to work on. Good staff working relationships. So I've got one guy who's worked for me. I'm 39. I've got one guy who's been on the farm for 41 years. So he's been on the farm longer than I've been alive. You've got to understand how these people work. Another guy, 32 years. The guy who's been there 41 years, his son started when he was 16, and I've got another guy who's been with me 8 years. And they are the lifeblood of that farm. They treat it like their own. I can come away to a talk like this and not expect the phone to ring. They know what they need to do and they just get on and do it. The office that I have has a very simple setup. We have big maps of the farm and it will already have written on it what crop is in what field. So if I'm away and they're thinking, which fields do I need to plough, they have access into the office. That's in wheat. Let's go on and get on with it. For me, that is my wife and kids, and 1 or 2 dogs, which are harebrained. It is very important for me to have a good work-life balance. Alan was saying, asking people what they go to bed thinking of at night. My great-grandfather had a saying which I use to this day, which is sell down to sleeping point. If you're going to bed every night worrying that he's going to come and bash your door down, get rid of it. It's not worth it. You need to have a good, sustainable life. So sell down to sleeping point. How I'm set up, that's what we own. Talking about cooperation. So 2 things with cooperation from my farming point of view. My neighbour does 5,000 acres of peas, and he has 600 acres of arable. He also does 1,000 acres of spuds. His harvest is a pain in the arse. He doesn't want to know about it. I'm set up heavily for the arable side. So I said, no problem, I'll come and do that. So we rent him land for peas and potatoes, which is a benefit to him. And I take all the combining, baling, grain drying and storage off him. The other thought about the contracting side, and this year has been great, but in the potatoes land that I rent out, I'm not going to tell you the numbers, but we do a small fixed price, and then I say at the end of November I take the farmer's weekly price and you pay me X boxes per acre. Therefore, if he's doing well, I'm doing better, and if he's doing badly, I'm doing poorly, or not as well. But that's a sustainable relationship. Because historically, rents, the landlord thinks that the tenant's screwing him, and the tenant thinks the landlord. If it is based on what you are producing, I don't know how many sort of land agents, etc., are in here, but if you are linking it to what's produced, they don't have a job. Because it's basically linked to what's happening on the farm. So I manage a farm for another neighbour. We do all his arable work, but he's not big enough. We take all his grazing off him for our cows, and it was the base price of beef was set, and if the price of beef goes up, his rent goes up. If it comes down, his rent goes down. Very simple. He's happy, we're happy. Sales mix, I'll come to it. I think it's on the next, oh no. So horn versus corn, I'll come to it later, but risk. No one's really mentioned risk today. Risk management is extremely important. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, because if they go crack, the bank is coming knocking on your door quickly. No one rightly so has mentioned numbers, but I'll talk a few numbers here. QMS, Quality Meat Scotland, put out these brochures, and actually SAC put it into their notes last week. You need to be at 94% calf crop. Is that achievable? I'm sat at home going, holy smoke, I'm dead and buried. So here's a little thought process for you. So there was 100 cows mated, 95% PD rate. You'd be quite happy with that, I would be. 2% have an abortion. Okay, maybe slightly high, but fair enough. So you have 93 cows with 2 sets of twins. Yeah, that's probably about right. 5% are dead or die. We all have deaths. If you have livestock, you have dead stock, as I tell my children. So the result is you have 90 calves alive at 1 month of age, but some of them get pneumonia. So you get 88 calves weaned. Goes back to where my targets were. Is 85% achievable? I think 88 out of 100 is very achievable. To be sat there worrying like hell, I mean, I think SAC put it in last week that we should be aiming for 95%. The bull would never come out. You'd be calving all year round, your employees would be pulling their hair out. It just doesn't work. So there's what the QMS was saying. Targeting, I know it was in 2008, but it was brought up again last week, targeting 95 calves per 100. It needs your brain red. I mean, it's just not going to happen. As long as you have a short calving period, which again, for supplying my customer, is crucial. I don't want to be weaning the whole time. I want lots, going back to consistency.